Hi, my name is Meshak, Two Wheels Paradise as usual. Today we are here in some jungle trying to bring up a conversation about whether you should buy a used bike or not. Whether you should spend your money on a bike that has been used by someone else. Have you subscribed? Take a minute and do it. The subscribe button is down here, and remember to turn on the notifications so that every time we upload a video, you get a notification that something nice about motorcycles has just landed on your most favorite YouTube channel. Let's get into business. Should you buy a used bike? Yes and no. Let's start with no. Why you should not spend your money on something that someone else has used and may be beaten up and got tired of it, and then they decided to dispose it. One of the reasons why you should not buy it is because you do not know exactly why the previous owner sold it. Some people are not honest in this world. Some of us are not honest at all. Someone has just messed up with something that was so good, but they just want to get rid of it because they cannot repair it anymore. Or it has become expensive for them to repair. Or maybe they know it has not really died yet, but it's almost dead. They know very well for sure something is about to go very wrong, and they do not want it to be in their hands. That is a very major reason why you should not spend your money on a used bike. Let us look at the positive side. Yes, you can buy a used bike, but there is a procedure. There is a procedure, and that procedure comes with terms and conditions. First things first, you have to understand who was riding that bike. And that is why it becomes very dangerous to buy a motorcycle through a broker, where you are not even meeting the person who was actually using that bike. When you look at someone, a little interaction with them can tell you there is a person who looks responsible, or there is a person who have no idea what life looks like. If you buy a bike from someone who has a behavior of breaking it down, assembling it again, breaking it down, assembling it again, you can be very sure you are buying a bike that is beaten up. Something else, if you buy a bike from someone who have no idea what that bike is supposed to appear like, they have no idea how much oil that bike is supposed to use, they have no idea whether that bike has an air filter or not, they have no idea how many plugs that motorcycle is supposed to use, which types of plugs it's supposed to use. If you buy that bike from someone who have no idea how that bike is supposed to be maintained, you can be very sure you are buying that bike from the wrong person. You can be very sure you are buying it from the wrong person. So, interacting with the person who was riding that bike is very, very important. Very important. And if you find yourself buying a bike from someone who is not very close to where you are, or a broker is the one in between you and they are making very strict conditions whereby you cannot meet the person who was riding the bike, that is a red flag. A very, very huge red flag. Because you cannot even be able to ask basic questions which are supposed to tell you what type of a bike you're buying in terms of maintenance. You know you're buying a CBR. You know you're buying a Yamaha XTZ. Yes, you know what you're buying. But can you be able to tell from whose hands? If you can be able to tell and you look at the person and you're comfortable, that is the reason why you should buy it. Or maybe someone is telling you, this bike has had this and this and this changed. For instance, this is my 99 Honda Transit. I have had it rebuilt. The engine has been rebuilt, completely rebuilt from crankshaft all the way to the heads. If you come to me and you want to buy this bike, I'll tell you straight away, this bike died and I repaired it. And it is more than 1 year actually. It is 1 year and 2 months since it was rebuilt. And in that 1 year and 2 months, I have done over 30,000 kilometers on the engine after the rebuild. So you're going to be open to the discussion of, was the rebuild properly done? Of course, yes. Because if it wasn't done properly, over 30,000 kilometers, I don't think I could have made it. Okay? So if someone is telling you these details, you can buy that bike. You can buy that bike if you know how to fix bikes. You have an idea of how to fix a motorcycle. You can buy that bike. You can buy that bike if you have an experience with another bike that you bought and rebuild and stuff like that. If you have an idea about bike rebuilds and you feel you're comfortable rebuilding it, then go for it. You should buy a second-hand bike, third-hand, fourth or fifth-hand bike, whatever it is, from a person who looks responsible in the way they speak. You can look at me and tell my attitude towards life. You can tell the attitude I have towards life. Some people are negative right from the onset. Some people are aggressive. Some people are very soft. Some people are very clean. You look at a biker and he is very clean. He or she is very clean. Very clean gear, very clean bike. Someone who is careful about the way they appear. That one should tell you, there is a person who loves this bike and they cannot just let it die for whatever reason. Again, you can buy a second-hand bike depending on why this person is selling it. Some people are selling these bikes because of genuine reasons. Like the motorcycle I sold before I had this one was a Benelli TNT 300 2019 model. That bike was around 41,000 kilometers by the time I sold it. And I sold that bike purely to get an off-road bike. Purely to get an off-road bike. Because I realized at some point the kind of rides I'm doing are not so good for the bike. It was a street bike and I was taking it to adventure rides deep into the Logonot forest. I remember in December of 2021, I visited Logonot forest, the mountain ridges and valleys, and I realized the way I'm using this bike is not going to be so good for it. Then I decided to sell it and get a bike that I can take to the jungles and I'm going to be very comfortable. And that is why I chose this one. That is a genuine reason. The person I sold the bike to, I don't know whether they beat it up or they are still riding it. I don't follow up on things when I sell them. I have no business following up on you. You see, some people are selling bikes because of financial issues. Some people are selling bikes because they want bigger bikes. Some people have been selling bikes out here because of medical reasons. Like I have a friend who got an accident and he is selling the bike to actually foot the bills from the hospital and some stuff like that. These are genuine reasons. So from that point, you can look at the condition of the bike physically and tell, this is a person who never wanted to let this bike go, but because of circumstances, they have no choice. Again, you can buy a second-hand bike if you have a trusted mechanic. Someone who can tell you, look, that bike sounds like it requires a crankshaft. The crankshaft for this bike is available at 15,000 shillings. Maybe some few other stuff. So if you have a budget of that 1,000, we can make this bike new again. That is some advice from a trusted mechanic. And then you look at the budget you had was, let's say 300,000. This bike is being sold at maybe 250. If you negotiate down a little bit, you can actually save the money for the rebuild. So this is an advice coming from a trusted mechanic. That way, you can buy that bike. Like for me, I have no problem buying a bike that I'm going to rebuild. I have already rebuilt this one and it is working perfectly for me. So I have no problem with rebuilding a bike because I know the kind of mechanic I have. I also know the kind of skills in motorcycling that I have. I know myself. So if I get a good bike, even if I have to rebuild it at some point, change some few things, I have no problem. I'll just set aside a budget for it. So buying a second-hand bike or a used bike, for me is a yes and a no. You have to know who you are buying the bike from. You have to know exactly what type of a bike you're buying, because some bikes are problematic. Some bikes are problematic and others are not problematic, but their parts are very expensive. Like for instance, the money I spent in rebuilding this bike was not even half of the money I could have used if I was rebuilding a BMW 650 Fanduro. Just assuming I wanted a Fanduro or Dakar 650. The money I could have spent rebuilding it is even more than 3 times the money I spent on this one. This is a Honda. That's a BMW. You look, you have to understand the bike you're buying. And that one will tell you if it is good to buy a bike that has been used or a bike that is quite new. Brand new bikes. Again, we are talking about used bike in our local market. Forget about the second-hand stuff from Europe, from Japan, from US. If the bike has been used by someone locally and it is being sold locally, that's what we consider a used bike. Because the way they come from abroad, they are coming used already, but they come almost new. And you have no idea who was using the bike from that end. So you consider yourself the first owner in the country the moment the bike runs. The same way with fresh imported vehicles. Right now, people are importing vehicles from 2017. We consider them new because you are the first owner locally. You cannot be able to trace what was going on from over there. So don't even bother about the history on the other side. But the moment it lands here, you are the first owner locally. We consider you as the first owner. Forget about everything else. It's not even necessary. So when I talk about a used bike, a second-hand bike, I'm talking about a bike that has been used locally by someone or by some people. Should you buy it? Yes, you can. But is it really necessary? Answer that question. If you know the bike you're buying, the person you're buying from, you know how to look at a bike and tell this one is not in good condition. This one is in good condition but requires some few repairs here and there. If you can be able to tell, then go ahead and buy it. Actually, I am the third owner of this bike in the country. This bike came to Kenya in the year 2005. It is a 99 and it came to Kenya in 2005. That is according to the registration documents I have in my name. 2005, the bike came to Kenya. It was bought by someone, sold it to someone else, and then, yeah, I'm the third owner of this bike in the country. Should you buy this bike from me? Yeah, you can trust me. My name is Meshach Samson Maina. Two Wheels Paradise is the channel. Have you subscribed? I'm waiting for that. Hit the button. Remember to turn on the notifications. Hit the bell icon. Every time I upload a video, you'll get notified that something has come, and maybe it is the only thing you needed in your motorcycle life. God bless you and keep you, and remember, your safety depends on what you do. So keep yourself safe. Keep yourself safe. See you around. Let's do a ride.